Hello ladies and gentlemen out there watching on YouTube, and welcome to race number 24 of Season 9 of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series. I am Levi McIntyre, the voice of the NNSCRA Marvel Studios Cup Series, here to welcome you to the Southern 500 here at Darlington Raceway, as after this race, 12 left to go, we will have been 2/3 of the way through the season. But let's take a look at the starting lineup for tonight's race. In the last row, it's Henry Sanford, Charles Belding. Top 10, Daniel Bouchard is on the pole for today. Starting next to him is Daniel Voiles. Row 2, Dylan Poteet, Mitchell Collins. Row 3, Alyssa Drayson, Jesse Turner. Row 4, Jackson Traeger, Caleb Kilburn. And then row 5, Zachary Fitzwater and William Brock. Let's get the command to fire engines for the Southern 500 at Darlington.
Drivers, start your engines!
So Daniel Bouchard, who is on the pole for tonight, he's been coming into this race with quite a bit of a story. Last Friday, our race last Friday, or it might have been, yeah, it was Friday, he picked up his first career victory. Then back on Monday when we raced at Armory Digital, had the worst crash we have had all season long when he went barrel rolling and flipping 25 times. And then rebounded at Boston this past Wednesday and getting another top 5 finish there, up to 14th in points. On the pole for tonight, can he get his second career win? But Daniel Voiles also going for win number 2 this season. Dylan Poteet looking for his first win of the season. Mitchell Collins looking for his first career win. So many elements in play. It's time to boogity, 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 go racing. Daniel Bouchard leads the first lap and has a bit of a gap between himself and second place, which Alyssa Drayson trying to get by Dylan Poteet for second. Now remember the last time we was here at Darlington, back for the Mountain Dew 400 right before All-Star break, Alyssa Drayson was the one who won that event, so she's looking to sweep the Darlington races this season, become the first driver in history of the Marvel Studios Cup Series to sweep the Darlington races. Right now running second, but there's still plenty of time for things to go down. Meanwhile, Jackson Traeger up to third, as Traeger finally making double-digit starts this season. This is his 10th start this season and of his career, and he's looking to not only impress, but to get his first career win, or top 5 at the very least, because he, along with Stephen Kalan, Arthur Xavier, Trey Wright, Riley Henry, Charles Sanford, Melissa Alexander, and Seth Cole have yet to score a top 5 finish this season. Perhaps tonight could be the night Jackson Traeger wraps it all together in a nice little bow. And then right behind him, Caleb Kilburn, who has been steadily in the top 10 in points over the past couple of weeks, comes in 7th in the standings. Actually did drop a spot after Boston, and in fact he's actually tied for 6th with Keith Miller Jr., as they are both got 596 points between the two. And then Zachary Fitzwater, who's still second in points, although only 27 behind Scott Groverston, and I don't see, or I barely saw Groverston in the frame back in the very back, but Fitzwater's got a lot of spots between himself and Groverston, so tonight could be the night Fitzwater closes in on the points lead and hopes that he can stay with high hopes in the championship fight. Daniel Voiles kind of trying to rebound a little bit as he is 8th in the point standings, and actually only 7 points. Or actually, as I'm looking from 5th down to 10th in the standings, it is 16 points separating 5th to 10th in the standings. So anybody in between those spots, it could shift on a dime. As Daniel Voiles currently running in 5th, trying to get up to 4th. And Voiles also looking for his 2nd career victory and 2nd win of the season. And what a way he could do it at one of the Crown Jewel events. And then behind all this, Dylan Poteet, who made last Wednesday's race at Boston, had a solid run, moved up to 33rd in points as he's still trying to get into the top 30 in points, but he is well a ways away from that. He is about 93 points separated from, or actually 94 points, excuse me, from 30th in the standings, but he could try and close the gap if possible. And then you got Jordan Forbes, who's trying to stay above 30th in points, and he's got a solid cushion, 42 points ahead of 30th in the standings. So he's got a pretty solid cushion for the time being, and he's running fairly strong up here in the top 10. And then you see Aaron Macklin, the Daytona 500 winner, having a solid run going here in the early goings here in 9th, now possibly going to go up to 8th as Poteet was forced up high. And then there's William Brock. William Brock has been on a bit of a downward slope over the past couple weeks as he fell out of the top 20 in points down to 22nd in the standings. But Brock having a really good, comfy run going right now in the 10th spot. But then right behind him, James Qualls. James Qualls has been trying to rebound back into the standings, 25th in the points. And how big would it be if he could get his first win of the season in the Southern 500? And then back here in 12th is Mitchell Collins. And Mitchell Collins had a phenomenal run back at Boston. In fact, almost won at Boston. But he moved back into the top 20 in the standings. So he's got some momentum on his side. And he's trying to keep that momentum going, but now he's about to possibly get passed by 13th right now, Alexander Rowe. And Alexander Rowe is definitely looking to get a good finish here tonight as he fell quite a bit in the standings after Boston back on Wednesday. And then back here in 14th is the points leader, Scott Groverston, as he's slowly climbing his way up through the field and now about to get up to 13th. As he's trying to keep a big enough gap between himself and Zachary Fitzwater in the standings, because we're getting to nut-cutting time when it comes to who is going to be the champion. And top 5 right now in the points, Scott Groverston leads by 27 over Fitzwater coming in to the race tonight, 74 over Ashland Boyd, 91 over Rafael Leduc, and 104 over Carson Gum. So realistically, for the time being, it would be between Groverston and Fitzwater for the championship. But anything can really happen over the next 12 races after tonight. Let's get back up to the front and see how things are looking up. Daniel Bouchard, I think he has led every lap so far here in the onset of the race, but not been leading by a big margin. He's had a slim gap. And right now, Alyssa Drayson in that 2nd spot, as she managed to come back from falling back to as low as 7th at one point. Looking to try and go for the lead, although nobody's really going for any moves up here towards the front, except for Zachary Fitzwater. I think I saw him try and go to the inside of Daniel Voiles, but to no avail. Jordan Forbes going to try and break up the party a little bit, trying to get up to 3rd. Going by Jackson Traeger. And it's been a while since Jordan Forbes has picked up a Marvel Studios Cup Series victory. Perhaps if he can reel his way up there to the top 2 and challenge for the lead, and maybe depending on pit stops, because there will be pit stops galore in this race. So it's also going to come down to who can come out of the pits faster and avoid problems, as the pit road to Darlington is quite treacherous, to say the very least. But right now the top 2 have broken away from everybody on back. So Alyssa Drayson in second, Daniel Bouchard in the lead. Kind of close together. I don't know if Drayson just doesn't have the momentum to make a move on the 19, or if she's just playing with the 19 a little bit. I don't know, but we still got a long way to go, as the Southern 500, definitely a little bit longer than when we ran the 400 miler, as the 400 miler was only 40 laps. Here it's an extra 13 laps you gotta do, and already pit stop's going to take place as Daniel Bouchard sacrifices the lead to come down pit road. But did anybody follow? Yes, a couple of them. William Brock, Dylan Young. Anybody else? Carson Gum, Jesse Turner. I think Joey Parkhill had already come to pit road, or no, he's just now coming in. Oh, I could see why he got the Darlington stripe, and oh, quite a few cars have actually gotten the Darlington stripe. Mitchell Collins was already on pit road. That's interesting. Meanwhile, Jordan Forbes going to lead another group of cars, but Alyssa Drayson staying out. I don't know if this is smart strategy on the part of Alyssa Drayson and Zachary Fitzwater. It might work out in their favor, it might not. We just got to wait and see. And Seth Cole and Keith Miller Jr., Kyle Matthews, I think those are the only ones yet to come to pit road, but now here comes Drayson and Fitzwater. Seth is coming in, but what about Miller and Matthews? Yes, they are coming in as well, so the remaining 5 are now coming into pit road. But now it's the question, can Alyssa Drayson get out of pit road faster than everybody else? But it's a pretty busy pit road, as you can tell, so it's definitely going to cause a little bit of a log jam for some of these drivers now coming in. Joey Parkhill coming out of his stall, and now Drayson going to come in. Slowing up Parkhill a little bit, but let's watch and see what the 87's doing. As she came in as the leader, so far 2 tires, gas, 4 tires and gas. And actually, it looks like Jordan Forbes actually beat out Daniel Bouchard out of pit road. And now Drayson coming out. Can she get out ahead of the 39 in time? I don't know if it's going to happen, but she's going to try. Nope, Forbes gets out ahead. So current leader now is Jordan Forbes. We're going to do the full field rundown in just a moment, but yeah, you can tell about every 17 to 19 laps, we're going to see a pit stop. So we're bound to see one more set of pit stops before the end of the race. Although, side by side for lead, Forbes had it, but Bouchard wants it back. Daniel Bouchard to the inside of Jordan Forbes, and back to the lead goes the 19 of Bouchard. But we got more contenders starting to reel in, so before we could do the full field rundown, we got a lot of fighting going on up here towards the front as William Brock is clawing his way up there. Daniel Voiles is trying. Alyssa Drayson, who had just come out of pit road, trying to reel back in to the mix. A lot of different players up here at the front. But let's, well, actually, before the full field rundown, we might have a pass for lead as here comes William Brock to the inside of the 19 of Bouchard. Can he clear the 19 off of turn 4, though? Not quite, but perhaps going into turn 1 he will. But William Brock leading his first lap of the race. And now William Brock to the lead. Now let's try and do a full field rundown. William Brock is currently the leader. Second is Daniel Voiles. Third, Alyssa Drayson. Fourth is Jordan Forbes. Fifth, Daniel Bouchard. Sixth, Dylan Young. Seventh, Caleb Kilburn. Eighth, Zachary Fitzwater. Ninth, Mitchell Collins. 10th, Dylan Poteet. 11th is Aaron Macklin. 12th, Ashlyn Boyd. 13th, Ryan Acosta. 14th, Jay Jefferson. 15th, Seth Cole. 16th, Scott Groverston. 17th, Jackson Traeger. 18th, Carson Gum. 19th, Matt McIntyre. 20th, Chris Dollarton. 21st is James Qualls. 22nd, Melissa Alexander. 23rd, Keith Miller Jr. 24th, Charles Belding. Big Hornet's Nest for 25th, but Kyle Matthews takes over 25th. 26th is Patrick Smith. 27th, Alexander Rowe. 28th, Jordan Lopez. 29th, Quinton Moore. 30th, Adam Garcia. 31st, Jessica Sheldon. 32nd, Henry Sanford. 33rd, Michael Norman. 34th, Rafael LeDuc. 35th, Johnny Gardner. 36th is Dylan Jacobs. 37th, Cole Deaver. 38th, Jesse Turner. Make that 38th, Jonathan Zorlin, and then Jesse Turner and Joey Parkhill have all gone a lap down. But back up at the front, Alyssa Drayson to the lead. Like I said earlier, she's trying to go for the Darlington sweep. She won the 400 earlier in the season, back at the 1/3 mark of the season, but she wants to get both Darlington wins. And she also won at Armory Digital earlier in the week. So she's trying to go for win number 3 this season to tie Ashlyn Boyd for the most wins so far this season. But look at Dylan Young. Dylan Young, who's been slipping in the point standings over the past couple of weeks. He's looking to go for win number 1 this season, and he's got a run to the inside of the 87, but didn't quite have enough momentum to make the pass. And we're going to go to helicopter view to watch and see if he can keep that momentum. No, he can't. He falls back in line for the moment behind the 87, but now back to the inside. Now Dylan Young has a lot more momentum to make the pass, and now going into turn 3, still side by side. Close at the line, but Dylan Young finally led a lap here tonight at Darlington. Can he finally clear the 87 off of turn 2? It looks like he will. And Caleb Kilburn also putting his name in the hat to try and go for the lead. It looked like he thought about going to the inside, but Zachary Fitzwater went even further down, and now Fitzwater up to second. Currently 1-2 right now for Young Motorsports, and actually all 3 of the Young Motorsports drivers that made the race, the only one who didn't make it was Stuart Campbell. He didn't qualify, but the 3 that are in, currently in the top 10, although Mitchell Collins going to probably fall out of the top 10 now as he's stuck on the outside, slipping quite a ways back. But for a moment, all 3 of the Young Motorsports drivers were in the top 10, but with 1-2 right now with Young and Fitzwater. As we're getting closer and closer to the end of the race, and we're getting closer and closer to the second and possibly final round of green flag pit stops. As I'm looking around to see if anybody has come to pit road early, I haven't seen anybody do that yet. Because if some drivers came to pit road early, then that would put them very close on the edge of disaster for fuel mileage. As it's 21 laps to go, I don't think anybody, even if they came to pit road now, they couldn't make it 21 laps. But right now, Dylan Young hanging on to the lead with Fitzwater right on his tail. William Brock, Alyssa Drayson, Caleb Kilburn, your top 5 for the time being. Keeping an eye on anybody that's coming to pit road, possibly, and nobody is coming in yet. And William Brock trying to break up the 1-2 tandem for Young Motorsports and get up to second again, as Fitzwater now stuck on the outside line, about to fall back quite a bit. But Dylan Young hanging on strong with the race lead for the time being. And still haven't seen anybody come to pit road. So it looks like whenever they come to pit road for the second round, it'll be the final round of pit stops that they'll have to make. But the leaders are rapidly closing in on the 0-0 of Jonathan Zorlin, as Zorlin's been kind of slow on the track, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he's just not in like a draft with drivers, that, or something's amiss with the 0-0. But regardless, new leader Alyssa Drayson back to the front as she made a bonsai pass on Dylan Young into turn 1, and now coming right to the back bumper of Jonathan Zorlin. And I can definitely tell it was a draft thing, because Yeah, he was able to get up to 181 miles an hour, so it's not a matter of his car being bad, it was just that he had no draft help, and the draft does come in handy, especially on straightaways. So Zorling not off the pace, he just needed some arrow push, so to speak. Been looking around for pit stops, if any at all, and nobody's come in yet, so we're about guaranteed for this final set of pit stops under green, if it stays green, for the race, so everybody will be able to make it on gas. And yes, Mitchell Collins, first one to come in, so that's definitely going to signal everybody to come to pit road, but let's see who else will come in. Dylan Young, William Brock coming in. It looks like it's going to be the same groups of cars that did their sequences in the beginning back on laps 18 and 19. Looks like we're going to see that again, so Alyssa Drayson I expect will come in next. And maybe now with this bigger lead now, maybe she might actually come through with a bigger lead than Bouchard had, or Forbes had whenever the pit stops happen. Although Drayson's staying out an extra lap along with Fitzwater. Whereas there's Keith Miller Jr., Kyle Matthews. Seth Cole actually decided to roll the dice and come in sooner than he did in the first sequence. So Seth Cole came into pit road sooner than his first sequence of stops, but now Drayson, Fitzwater, what about Miller and Matthews? Yep, they're coming in now. But now the question is, can Drayson come out of pit road further ahead, or is she going to lose some time? Although she's got a few cars actually, I guess, just finished their stops, so she should be okay. It's just a matter of when, like right there with Qualls and Forbes coming out, if it'd be a hazard. But it doesn't look like it's going to be much of a problem. Although Dylan Poteet had to get out slowly because he was stuck behind Daniel Voiles right there. Although Fitzwater, I see he went with the 4 tires a little bit quicker than Drayson. Can Drayson beat out the 12? Yes, she will. I thought for a second it looked like Fitzwater was going to have a much faster pit stop than Zachary Fitzwater, but it looks like Dylan Young, with all the momentum, is going to get the lead for the time being, but that won't matter much because everybody behind him will catch back up to him like we saw after the first sequence. It's just a matter of when you get the tires warmed up, then you can get going. And Jonathan Zorling actually right on the back bumper of the two of Dylan Young, looking to try and get his lap back. As yeah, only he, Turner, and Parkhill are the only ones who have gone a lap down in this race. But now Zorling back on the lead lap. Dylan Young leads. Second, William Brock. Third, Alyssa Drayson. Fourth, Caleb Kilburn. Fifth, Quentin Moore. Where in the world did he come from? Aaron Macklin in sixth. Daniel Bouchard seventh. Mitchell Collins eighth. Jackson Traeger ninth. Matt McIntyre now in 10th. Now the question is, can these drivers from Brock on back catch back up to the two of Dylan Young to make it a bigger fight for the win? Because that was the last pit stops we were going to get for the race. Dylan Young, all he's got to do is just last out there up at the front for another 10 laps, and he will get his first win of the season. He actually did pull away from the second group of cars by 2.5 tenths, so maybe Dylan Young's got better odds now that he's up at the front, and he's actually right behind the 0-0 of Jonathan Zorling, which is helping to keep him in a draft, which actually may be to the benefit of Dylan Young, but we'll see if it'll last long, though. That's the question. Let's see the margin now. It actually shrunk a little bit, so maybe the 29 and company are starting to figure out their strategy to catch back up to the 2. Alyssa Drayson pulling out of the slipstream to go to the inside of William Brock to get to second. As remember, Drayson is determined to make history and be the first driver ever in the Marvel Studios Cup Series to sweep the Darlington races. Although the margin that time was 1.7 seconds, so it actually grew a little bit because of William Brock getting passed by the 87. But Quentin Moore looking to make a pass on Alyssa Drayson for himself, but didn't quite carry enough momentum and speed that time. But anyways, as we are now coming to 7 laps to go, Dylan Young leads now by... shrunk just a little bit again to under 1.6 seconds. Drayson trying to lead the charge of everybody that's right in a train almost, trying to reel in the 2. But again, the 2's got that slipstream off of Zorleen in front of him, which is helping him to stay afloat as far as a big margin, even though it's shrinking little by little. Let's see, this time shrunk even more, but now Quentin Moore decides, you know what, it's go time to get up there, going to second. Quentin Moore, who's also looking for his 3rd win of the season and 3rd of his career, as he almost won back at Boston on Wednesday. Almost pulled it off. Margin definitely shrinking now to less than 1.3 seconds. Can Quentin Moore and even Aaron Macklin, can they reel in Dylan Young for the win? I don't know, unless they like really push it, I don't know if it's going to be enough time. As it's still a pretty sizable margin. Let's see, with 4 laps to go now, the margin is... it shrunk just a tad, but not by a crazy bunch. If it were a crazy bunch, then I would say, oh yeah, there is still a big chance. Meanwhile, Dylan Jacobs, who currently in 37th, looking to be on the verge of going a lap down as Dylan Young's approaching him. But now it's 3 laps to go. Here at Darlington, the margin now actually grew a little bit. But again, not by much. Quentin Moore and Aaron Macklin trying to work together in a tandem to run down the 2, but now they have the 2 and the 00 have caught Dylan Jacobs. And actually, between Jacobs and Zorleen, this would be for position for 37th. So if they decide to go side by side and Dylan Young gets stuck behind it, I wouldn't say it'd be much help for the 27 and company, but it would kind of give them a little bit of hope of something to happen, as now Dylan Jacobs got passed by Jonathan Zorleen, and Dylan Young now stuck behind the 41. But we are getting ready to take the white flag. White flag is about to wave for Dylan Young. And I don't think anybody behind him is going to be a factor, so all Dylan Young has to do is just stay out there, not crash or make a big mistake, and he will get the win guaranteed. Coming off turn 4 for the final time, he's going to finally get it done. Checkered flag waving, first win of the season. Dylan Young wins the Southern 500 at Darlington. Made a good pit call to pit sooner than the other leaders because of a cleaner pit road. Managed to pull out ahead, and voila! Dylan Young finally gets his first win of the season here in Season 9. And what a way to do it at one of the biggest races of the season. But let's look at the rest of the results. Quentin Moore, another top 5 finish for him, finishing in a strong second place finish. Aaron Macklin, that's only his 3rd career top 5, finishing with a very good 3rd place run. Alyssa Drayson tried hard to make history, but still no slouch, finishing in 4th. And then Caleb Kilburn with a great run in the 5th position. Seth Cole so close to getting his first top 5 of the season, so he'll have to settle for a 6th place finish. Carson Gum keeping momentum alive, finishing in 7th. Matt McIntyre with a great run in the 8th spot. Ashlyn Boyd with a solid performance at 9th, and then Jackson Traeger rounding out the top 10. Then there is your top 20, top 30, and then the bottom 5 for this week were Daniel Voiles, Jonathan Zorline, Dylan Jacobs, Joey Parkhill, and Jesse Turner. So that does it for our coverage here tonight at Darlington. 2/3 of the season done. We got 12 more to go. Where are we heading to Monday? You just have to wait and see. But until then, here is Dylan Young's Victory Burnout and the point standings. This is Levi McIntyre signing off.